It was supposed to be an ordinary evening, the kind that blended into routine. I had just finished dinner and was sifting through emails when Melissa, my wife of 7 years, stepped into the dining room. She looked restless, her fingers drumming nervously against her phone. I could sense something was wrong, but I wasn't prepared for what she was about to say. She sat down across from me, her eyes fixed anywhere but mine. With hesitation in her voice, she finally spoke. "I need to tell you something. I'll be traveling for a few days with Ryan." For a moment, I simply stared at her, waiting for the punchline, for her to smirk and admit it was a joke. Ryan wasn't just some colleague, he was her ex, someone I thought was firmly in the past. Hearing his name attached to the idea of a trip together hit me like a heavy blow to the chest. My mind fought against the words, refusing to accept them. My wife, the woman I trusted, calmly telling me she was going away with the man she once loved? Who does that? But Melissa didn't laugh, didn't flinch. She pressed her lips together and kept her gaze locked on the table, as though bracing for impact. That was when it sank in, she was serious. A suffocating silence filled the room. My chest felt hollow, yet I forced myself to remain composed. Losing my temper would only hand her the excuse she seemed to want. To call me jealous, insecure, controlling. I wasn't going to give her that. Finally, I asked one word. "Why?" My tone was steady, though I felt fire burning beneath my skin. She launched into a speech she had clearly rehearsed. It was about work, about Ryan's business contacts and how they could benefit her career. She assured me I had no reason to worry, that I should trust her. The casual way she delivered it, almost dismissive, twisted my stomach. She wasn't even trying to disguise the insult. She laid it all out as if I were supposed to nod along and accept it. That's when I realized, this wasn't carelessness. It was arrogance. And as she spoke, I noticed something else. She kept sneaking glances at me, searching for a reaction. She wanted me to explode, to accuse her, to beg her not to go. She wanted a scene so she could turn it around and call me controlling or paranoid. It was a trap. But I didn't bite. I let her finish every line, gave a small nod, kept my expression unreadable. She had prepared for a fight, but she hadn't prepared for indifference. When her explanation finally faded into silence, I leaned back in my chair, locked eyes with her, and spoke 2 simple words. "Don't worry." The effect was instant. Her eyes widened, her lips parted slightly, expecting a storm that never came. Instead, she was met with calm, unnervingly calm, and it rattled her. She shifted uncomfortably, her confidence faltering as though her script had suddenly failed her. "Don't worry. That's it?" she asked, her voice unsteady. I didn't answer. I just held her gaze, then calmly returned to my emails as if the conversation was over. That was when she realized something had changed. I wasn't clinging to her. I wasn't the desperate husband scrambling to hold on. My quietness carried a finality she hadn't foreseen, and it unsettled her more than rage ever could. The rest of the night, she circled back again and again. She asked if I was angry, if I still cared, if I still loved her. Her voice rose with each attempt, her frustration growing as she tried to drag me into the fight she craved. But I stayed steady. I went about my evening as though nothing had happened. My silence, and those 2 words, hung heavier than shouting ever could. The more I refused to react, the more shaken she became. She thought she was in control, but the truth was, she had already lost it. The next morning, I didn't wait for her to finish packing for her so-called trip. While she showered, I quietly gathered my own belongings. On the kitchen counter, beside my packed bag, I placed divorce papers with a short note. "Don't worry. I'm done." No arguments, no explanations, just the truth in ink. When she stepped out of the bathroom and saw the papers, her face drained of color. But by then, I was already gone, walking out the door with my head held high. Melissa had believed she could play with my emotions, flaunt her ex, and still expect me to be waiting like a fool when she came back. But the moment she told me she was traveling with him, our marriage was already over. My 2-word reply was simply the period at the end of her betrayal. A quiet way of saying, I will never fight for someone who doesn't respect me. And in the end, that calm refusal to give her the drama she wanted was what struck her hardest. Sometimes the strongest revenge isn't anger, shouting, or shattered plates. Sometimes it's just 2 words, spoken with quiet certainty. 2 words that mark the moment you finally walk away.